In this video, I'm going to show you how you can build front ends for your N8N workflows using Firebase Studio. In case you don't know what Firebase Studio is, it is a new AI-based coding tool developed by Google, and so it is a rival to tools like Lovable. However, unlike Lovable, which only provides us with very limited free tier usage, Firebase Studio is pretty much completely free of use, so I think it is a perfect tool to begin with, especially if you're a beginner. My goal in this video is to help you understand how you can connect it to N8N so they can work together. And to do that, we are going to be building two simple applications. First, we'll build a landing page for a newsletter where people can subscribe. And in this example, we are going to look at a unidirectional data flow, meaning data is going to flow from Firebase to N8N only. And what's going to happen is the user is going to submit their email, and that email is going to be sent to our N8N workflow. Obviously, once it reaches our N8N workflow trigger, which in this case is going to be the webhook, we can decide whatever we want to do. And in this example, we're just going to add it to a Google Sheet as a database and send a welcome email. And in the second example, we are going to build a very simple chat interface where we'll be chatting with an AI agent that is hosted on N8N. So we'll be sending our messages through the Firebase Studio app, and this message is going to be sent to N8N as message to the agent. The agent, however, this time is going to generate a response, and that response we're going to get from N8N and then add it to the chat interface so that we can see it there, which means in this case we are going to see bi-directional flow of data, where the data is going to flow from Firebase to N8N and from N8N back to Firebase. So by the end of this video, you will have an understanding of how to build simple applications using Firebase Studio and connect it to your N8N workflow to enrich your development experience as a developer. And so without wasting any more time, let's get right into the first example. First, have to head to this URL, of which I'm going to be adding to the description of this video, and then you'll have to set up your account, which you can do in just a few clicks, literally. And after that, we'll be welcomed by this screen here. And just like Lovable, we also have a nice little chat box here, of which we can use to chat with the AI. And to save time, I already have the prompt prepared beforehand. So now we can just go over it and see what I have prepared. So we're saying, create a sleek, dark themed landing page for my N8N focused newsletter, including a black background with a matte gradient, center aligned layout with modern typography, black and white theme, headline, get one free N8N automation every week. And then we have a sub headline saying, stay ahead of the curve with weekly workflow drops, tips, and updates on the latest from the N8N ecosystem. And then we have our form field, which is an email field, and it is required. And then we have a call to action button, which in this case is going to say subscribe. And we also gave it additional design elements. We're telling it no navbar, no footer links, clean spacing, and visually balanced. Everything is packed in the center. And then we have the final remarks. This landing page should feel personal, trustworthy, and modern, focused solely on collecting emails for the newsletter, right? All right, so now that we went over what exactly we want the AI to build for us, I'm going to click on prototype with AI so that it can start actually coming up with a prototype for us, right? And this is going to take a while, maybe 30 seconds or a minute. All right, so you can see that it is in the process of creating a prototype, and it actually did. And what we have right now is just Firebase's plan for this project, right? You can see it says app blueprint, and it's calling it N8N letter. The features are headline display, displays a prominent headline, get one free automation every week. Then it says sub headline, displays a sub headline, stay ahead of the curve with weekly workflow drop tips, etc. Then the email input field includes a single required perfect email input, then subscription button, right? A subscribe button, email subscription, and then all of these things that we actually asked from it. And the style guidelines, I'm seeing green, even though we told it to make it black and white. So it says background is going to be black with a subtle matte gradient, and then primary text color white for high contrast and readability. Okay, perfect. Then what is this green for? Accent a vibrant green for the subscribe button to draw attention. Please also make the button white in this case. Okay, to make it truly black and white. And let's see what happens. We could, by the way, go in, I think, and actually edit it ourselves. But in this case, let's see what it came up for us. So you can see that this time it just has a black and white background. It doesn't have the third color. So that's why we can see all of it at once. If we clicked on this, for example, I feel like yeah, we can actually go and edit this and then save it that way. But in this case, we don't have to, since it's already going to do exactly what we want. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and click on prototype this app so that I can start actually building this app for us, right? And right now, that's exactly what it is doing. It started building the application for us, which is super cool, especially that we can see its process of doing it. So okay, so it's still going on. All right, perfect. It did a pretty good job, right? Even though what we asked from it is very simple, but I already like this design, exactly the black and white design we asked for, and a slight gradient, so love it. But maybe I want this, like the text here, to maybe like be more compact in the center. So I'll say this is perfect. Actually, you know what? I want to show you guys something here. This is one feature that they have for us. You can actually click on this, and once you do, you can select the elements on the website, on the web page, and tell it which one you want it to change. And then there's another. So actually, for example, let's try to do this. I'm going to click on this, right? The home page here. Apparently, you can't click on the text. I'm going to say, please, how can I say this? Please reduce the width of the sub headline or headline and sub headline so that they can be packed in the center. Okay, maybe let's say 400 pixel max. Let's see what happens when I say that, and now it should start applying those changes for us. Let's see what it does. Okay, perfect. It did exactly that, even though I'm not sure if it looks better than it already did, but at least I was able to demonstrate how you can do something like this, right? So that was one feature that Firebase provides, where you can select elements and actually give comments on them. We have this in, of course, Lovable as well. And there's also one more functionality here, which is super cool, and that is this one here. And what you can do essentially with this is you literally get this drawing interface, and this one is very similar to Excalibur, and I think it's probably that, right? Unless like this is a standard way or standard UI for these tools. But essentially what you can do is you can use this tool like this, and let's say you can draw something on the screen, right? You can say, hey, I want to have, let's say, my profile picture being displayed here, and then you can draw this frame, for example, and pass it a picture and say, please add that picture into this frame that I just drew. Or you can do something like, hey, I added all these circles, right? For in places of these circles, please add stars or whatever. So it's a pretty cool functionality as well, but I'm not going to show it right now since we're going for simplicity. But yeah, awesome. It was able to do exactly what we told it to do, right? So we have the first part of the first example complete. We have this web page ready. We can actually click on this and look at how it looks like on the browser. So it's exactly as it's previews for us here, right? And now what we will need to do is we'll have to figure out the second part of the puzzle, which is going to be N8N, so that when we add in our email here, okay, so this text is currently in black, so we can't see it. Let's actually tell it to fix that as well. I'm going to click on this input and say, please turn the text to white. Currently it's black. Okay, and it should get that fixed now. Let's wait for it to complete. Okay, so it's doing its thing, and hopefully by the time it's done, it's going to fix our problem. Perfect. So we can see that it did indeed fix our problem, right? Now what we want it to do is whenever somebody submits their email, right, and then clicks on subscribe, it should be sending it to our N8N workflow so that we can start processing that email, which is going to be super cool to see. So for this, what we'll need is, first of all, by the way, I like that it actually added this check here where you need to make sure that this is in the right format, right? If you don't pass in an email, the subscribe button is just not going to work. But yeah, now what we want to do is we want to create a tool called webhook, okay? And this webhook is a node that is going to help us actually listen to events or requests being sent over the net, more specifically HTTP requests, right? So when we create this node here and add it to our canvas as trigger, so what this node does is it essentially creates an endpoint, and that endpoint is represented by this URL here. And what this means is that we can now actually trigger this workflow through the internet by accessing this URL. And the cooler part is we are not only able to trigger the workflow, but we can also send data as we trigger it, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing here. So in this case, when a user enters in their email and then clicks on subscribe, what we wanted to do is we wanted to send a request to this webhook along with the email that the user entered, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be doing now. And for that, let's first configure our webhook node here. And if you notice, there are two versions of these URL, and as their name implies, one of them is for testing and the other one is for production use, right? We are going to go with the testing here since it helps us to see the execution of the workflow in real time. So that is why we are going to be passing in this URL to our tool here, right? And what we want to set right now is we're going to go to the HTTP method and select post. And the reason we are selecting post is because we want to send in this email within the request. And the best practice to do that in this case is using post. So I'm going to click on it. Next, we have this path field. And in this case, you're actually literally giving it the path to this webhook. And if you notice here, this value here is the exact same as the value in the URL itself. So in this case, let's actually give it a nice name, right? And I'm going to call it, let's say, email, YOLO. I'm just going to call it emails like that so that it can, or subscription, even better. So I'm going to call the path or name the path as subscription so that next time we want to send requests to this exact webhook, what we'll have to do is we'll have to use this URL here, and it's going to be the same for the production URL. You can see that it also applies a new path that we just added. And next we have authentication. In this case, you're not going to be setting any, right? And then after that we got respond, and in our current case we are going to go with immediately. This means that as soon as our application sends a request, it is going to return a response of success, basically saying like, yeah, I got your request, you're good to go, right? And then next, what we have here is when last node finishes, basically meaning that if this application in that case sends a request, the request will continue until the last node of this workflow has finished executing. And finally, we have using respond to webhook node, which is actually what we are going to be using for our second example. It's pretty much very similar to the when last node finishes, but to me, it kind of gives the workflow more structure in terms of being able to control what data we want to return, right? So response defined in that node, that's what that means here. So in this case, we're going to click on immediately, and once we do that, our webhook or this workflow here is actually ready to listen for requests. And for that, since we are using the test URL, I'm going to have to actually click on test workflow for this, right? But before we actually do that, I'm going to copy this URL and I'm going to head over to our application here. Now I'm going to tell it, okay, perfect, thank you. And then now whenever a user clicks on this subscribe button, right, the application should send a post request. I didn't really have to specify this. It would be able to infer and understand it itself, but it's okay. It's a good practice to do so. Send a post request to the following URL. Okay, I'm going to say following URL with the email in the body of the request. Okay, and I'm going to click on enter and let's see what happens now. Alrighty, it is processing. You can see that it is applying the changes we asked from it, and boom, I am expecting it to actually do exactly what we asked it. I'm going to click on test workflow now, and once we do so, I'm going to enter in my email and I'm going to say this and then click on subscribe. And when we do that, you can see that indeed we did get a request sent to this webhook with the body having the email that we added into this text field. So this is super cool, and it's literally up to us now how we want to use this email in our workflow, right? So if you were to, let's say, actually build a newsletter, we could do something like, okay, every time somebody subscribes, we're going to add their email into a spreadsheet, and then we are also going to send an welcome email, right? So we're going to do something like send a message, and every time they send us or subscribe to us, we are going to be running these two nodes here. One of them is going to add their name in a table on Google Sheets, and then the other one is going to send again a welcome email. Let's actually complete them. All right, so I just finished setting these nodes up. Let's take a look at what I have prepared for us. So we have this newsletter Google Sheets here with this subscribers table inside this subscribers sheet, right? You can see here we are pointing to it, document, newsletter, and then sheet, subscribers. Then we are matching each column. In this case, we only have one column, and that is the email column. And then in the body, what we are doing is we are taking this and adding it to the email column. Essentially, if for those of you who don't know how to do this, I'm just dragging and dropping this into this email field. And so what's going to happen now is every time this node gets executed, it is going to add a row into this table. And on the other hand, we have the Gmail tool, right? In the Gmail tool, we are doing the exact same thing, but in this case, just with Gmail, we are sending an email to this guy here that I again dragged and dropped from output of the webhook. And then we added a subject saying welcome to Business AI Alliance, and a welcome message, which is just hard coded, no AI involved in this case, right? So with this set, I want to actually go to our app again and click on subscribe one more time. Oh, but wait, I forgot to actually click on test workflow, right? We're gonna click on test workflow, and once we do that, I'm gonna hit subscribe, and this should trigger our workflow, of course. And now we should have this newsletter thing populated, and we can actually see that it's there, right? The email is added into this table, which is perfect. And we should also have an email sent. Let's go check that out. And here is the email. So perfect, it's working exactly as we wanted, right? So what we just saw here is a unidirectional data flow where we are only sending data from this tool here or this application here to N8N. All right, now that we are done with the first example where we saw the unidirectional flow of data, where we only sent data from the Firebase app to N8N, now let's start with our second example where we're again going to build a very simple chat interface where we are going to be sending messages to N8N through HTTP request. And the agent in N8N that's going to receive this message is going to generate a response. And then we're going to take that response and pass it to the Firebase Studio app and attach it to the chat UI. Just a quick interjection. So I have a Skool community called Business AI Alliance, and it is completely free to join. We are currently at 2.9K members that are looking to leverage AI just like you. I upload all the resources I show in my YouTube videos here as well in the YouTube video and resources section. As can be seen, the only thing you'll have to do is find the post associated to the video you're looking for the resources of, and just click on that. Once you do, you can find the resources also attached to the post. You can download that and directly import it into your workflow. Apart from that, we have general discussion sections and also information nuggets where the community shares bite-sized informations, right, as what we have here. So the progress in AI models IQ in just 1 year, system prompts of agents in popular AI tools, and all these cool stuff. And of course, very important as well. So I think you can derive a lot of value from this community, and I'm hoping to see you in. I'll be leaving the link in the description below, so definitely check it out. But with that said, let's continue with the video. So for this, I actually have nothing prepared. I'm just gonna go YOLO in this case. So maybe I'm gonna say something like build a chat UI for me. Okay, build a chat UI. And then let's take this URL here where I'm going to be chatting with an AI agent, okay? And in this case, I'm gonna just remove, and maybe not remove this actually, just maybe create another webhook like this, okay? And then I'm gonna attach an agent to one end. And oh yeah, for the memory, by the way, we are going to need, in this case, simple memory. And let's actually do this. Since for the simple memory, we will need a session ID. Let's do it so that every time we access this application here, it's going to create a new session, right? So let's make it create a new session ID that we can pass also through the webhook as well as the message. And that session ID is going to be passed to the simple memory for it to retrieve the relevant chat history. Okay, so how we can do that, I'm gonna try to figure that one out. Let's first just add OpenAI here, and then session ID is getting from JSON.session ID. Okay, I'm going to go back to our Firebase Studio, and this time we're going to take this URL here, and instead of subscription, I'm going to call it AI agent. Or I'll call it chatbot is much better. Okay, and we got this test URL, and I'm going to say build a chat UI where I'm going to be chatting with an AI agent, and the location of the AI agent is in the following URL. Okay, in the following URL. For now, just focus on being able to send a message to that URL. Don't worry about the response yet. Maybe no need to the response yet. Okay, so I'm going to click on prototype with AI. Let's see what it builds for us. And in the meanwhile, as it does that, this time we're going to have to set up our webhook a bit differently compared to what we had just now, and we're just going to change this from immediately to using respond to webhook node. Okay, and when we do that, we are also going to need to create another webhook node here. Okay, and we're saying, see, this is the exact same thing here, and you can see that the name is respond to webhook, and we are also pointing out that we are using respond to webhook here. Okay, and once we do that, we are pretty much done. We are saying in this case respond with first incoming item, so the first output that this AI agent generates is what it's going to use, and so it matches our use case perfectly. Now that we have this thing here set up, right, or partially set up, we can get back to our Firebase Studio app and say prototype this app, and let's wait for it to actually build it. So it's called webhook chat, and then it's building it. All right, great. You can see that we already have the chat UI ready for us, prepared. Okay, and in this case, we pasted this URL, right? And did we pass it the right URL? Yes, perfect, we did. Okay, so now let's check and see what we get when we click on test workflow. I'm going to say hi. And when we do that, we are going to get it passed to this webhook. You can see that it did, right? And the body currently includes the message field, and this message field is what we are going to be passing to our agent. Okay, so I'm gonna click on select that pick define below, and then I'm gonna pass in the message directly to our agent. And now that we pass this directly to our agent, what we also need is, remember, we need to also set up this session ID. So let's also let our agent know about that. A user visits this web page, create a session ID, and always include that session ID in your request to the URL as part of the body. And then we're going to say this is what the agent is going to use to track the conversation history. Okay, perfect. I'm going to click on enter. Alrighty, and there we go. And you know what, I want to also, could you please make the website in dark mode? Okay, dark mode. And also yeah, okay, I'll just keep this for now. Okay, could you please make the website in dark mode? Grammar check. Alrighty, it's doing its thing. Perfect. Okay, this one looks so much better. All right, nice. Now let's try to send another message. Test and send. Oh wait, I forgot to click on this. Test, send again, and we should be receiving a session ID along with the message. Perfect. And I'm gonna click on test workflow again. I'll say test 2 now, and click on send again. And again, once more, we should be getting the exact same message. Right? Wait, is that the same message? 93. It ends with 93. Send another message, and so it is 93. Perfect. Okay, so it is working. Right now, what we want to do with this is click on simple memory, right, and then click on session ID drop down and select define below, and go to the webhook, and then select the session ID and add it to the key part of the memory. So now it's going to use this ID to track its conversation history. And for the context window length, let's just go with 10, even though it doesn't really matter in this case since we're not even going to send 5 messages, but that's okay. So I'm gonna just re-click on this test workflow, and let's see what happens this time. Hi, right? I'm gonna click on hi, and now we see that the agent was able to respond successfully, right? Said, hi, hello, how can I assist you today? And respond to webhook. All right, so now that we understand the structure of the output this workflow generates, we also have to describe it to our agent in Firebase Studio. What I mean by agent is this agent here, so that it knows how to handle the response, right? In this case, when we tell it, hey, this is the structure of the response you are going to get when you send a request to this URL, it will be able to get the output and add it to the chat interface. So let's tell it exactly what it has to do. So I'm going to say output structure of the URL is as the following, okay? And then take the output and add it to the chat interface. Okay, I'm going to click on enter, and hopefully it will be able to apply these changes. And now whenever we send a message to our workflow, it is going to be able to get the response and actually add it to our chat interface here. And let's see if it actually did that. I'm going to say hello, and of course, since we are using the test URL, I have to click on test workflow. I'll click on hello, and let's see if it's going to return the response. And it indeed did, which is awesome. I'm going to click on test workflow again. My name is Mahmoud. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to say send. Nice to meet you, Mahmoud. How can I assist you today? I'm going to click on test workflow yet again. What is my name? All right, when I do that, it should respond to me with my name, and that's exactly what we are seeing here, which is awesome. Now, because we are using the test URL, it's always going to require us to click on test workflow, right? And that can get boring. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go get our production URL and then activate this workflow here. And then once I do that, I'm going to go back to our agent in Firebase and say, replace the URL with this. Okay. And when we do that, we'll be able to pretty much start chatting with our agent without having to click on test workflow again and again. Let's wait for it to complete that. And then once it does, we'll head to our web application, and I'm going to click on the this button here, which is going to take us to the test browser. And you can see that that's exactly what we have. I'll say, hey there, and let's see what happens. Hello, how can I assist you today? My name again is Mahmoud. Yay, I'm a happy man. What is my name? Your name is Mahmoud. How can I assist you further? Now let's go to our N8N workflow and take a look at the executions. And in the executions, we can see what kind of requests have been sent, right? We can see that in the body, we are saying, what is my name with this session ID ending with 76. We go to our previous message. It should also have obviously the same session ID with that message. So my name is Mahmoud with the session ID ending with 76. And pretty much with that, we have a simple chat interface also implemented. And with it, we also saw how we can create a bi-directional workflow where we can send and receive data between these two applications. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was actually really fun to film this. And if you want to see me build more complex applications using Firebase Studio or even Lovable, just let me know down in the comments below. I'm actually planning to come up with a new concept regarding these, so it's going to be interesting. And if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a like, as engagements really do help in getting my channel reach out to more people. With that said, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.